Happy New Year and a very good evening. Welcome to this edition of New Vision TV. I am Derek Asaba. We are coming to you live from the New Vision newsroom and live on Urban TV. Let's start off this bulletin with the news headlines and later on the details.
Police issues guidelines ahead of New Year festivities. Armed robbers confess to shooting an engineer in Kamuli. In the special report, we continue looking back at a busy 2019. This and more in a bulletin shortly.
Welcome once again. I am Derek Asaba. We start off with news around Uganda. Now today, police has issued guidelines to follow at places of worship, entertainment and social centers to mark the New Year Eve. Addressing media at the police headquarters in Naguru earlier today, the police spokesperson, Fred Enanga, said an additional layer of protection with specially trained, uniformed and plain officers will deter and disrupt any hostile conduct. Douglas Muriu was at the police headquarters and now reports.
We policed several events.
In the press conference that kicked off at 11 a.m. at the Naguru police headquarters, the police spokesperson Fred Enanga noted the following guidelines to the public and said the following: "We have the right response of officers at selected locations and we call upon the public to observe the guidelines and put security at the top of their must-have lists. People should not go swimming unless it is a patrolled area. No burning of tires, firing of bullets as part of the celebrations, and fireworks material must not exceed 1.5 millimeter caliber and display should only be 5 minutes. He added that only contractors licensed under the Explosive Act shall display fireworks following standard fireworks displays, and all territorial commanders were asked to watch out for organizers who set off fireworks outside the permitted times. Following the recent terrorist attacks in Somalia, Enanga revealed that there will be additional security from the military and LDUs in crowded places. The public will see a visible security presence with police patrols fully trained and working to deter, detect and disrupt hostile conduct. This will be a mix of overt and covert officers deployed with K9 unit, use of CCTV and other automated and scientific methods as part of our security master plan to meet any threats as people celebrate the end of year and usher in the new year." Enanga said that a total of 21 murders were recorded by the police during the Christmas festival and Boxing Day. This figure reflects a slight decrease of the murder count when compared to the 23 cases registered in 2018. This story was compiled by Douglas Mubiru for New Vision TV.
Thank you, Douglas Muriu, for that report. Moving on, while many well-off Ugandans are nursing hangovers and constipation from too much drink and food over the festive season, millions of the elderly folk are yawning from hunger due to inadequate provision for their welfare by the state. The recently revised policy of grants for the elderly only caters for a small section of the elderly.
Starting 2020, all Ugandans registered as aged 80 years and above will be paid 25,000 shillings per month. But the policy has left most elderly people unhappy. Recently, 69-year-old Canon Jolly Babirukamo led a delegation of 6 elderly persons to Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, pleading that the social assistance grants for empowerment, known as SAGE, be paid to Ugandans starting from the age of 55 and not 80 years, as stated in the recently passed policy. They argued that when people start mandatory retirement at the age of 55, their quality of life deteriorates so fast that most die before the age of 80 when they can start getting the grant. But for all the time they remain alive, the frail Ugandans have to look after grandchildren dumped on them and walk long distances to health centers where treatment for themselves and the children is also inadequate. They are appealing to the government to help resolve this matter. The elders may as well have been talking about Joeria Namuyanja, who, only slightly over 50 years, is aging rapidly. She lives at Naluvule in Wakiso district and used to work in a Wino market until her husband died in 2000 and she struggled to single-handedly raise the children. Now the children have dumped grandchildren on her, and in her failing health, Namuyanja can hardly pay school fees and their requirements. There are hundreds of thousands of women in her position, and Namuyanja is now appealing for the government to help. Aging men also suffer equally. Yusuf Kato, commonly known as OB, sells bread on small scale downtown. He was a relatively comfortable trader in 1987 when the currency was drastically devalued, and from the 3 million shillings he had saved for his old age, he was given a mere 21,000 shillings according to the conversion rate. At his advanced age, he still has to play hide and seek with landlords for the tiny room he lives in. Yusuf wants government to help older persons, but the government's position on 80 years is firm and not about to change anytime soon. Some observers see no way out except individual solutions. Joyce Mpanga, the former state minister for primary education, says people should save for their retirement in old age because old age comes with so many complicated diseases such as high blood pressure. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development Statistics show that 29% of households containing older persons are poor. The 2016 Uganda Bureau of Statistics figures show that 85% of the active older persons are engaged in crop farming with no social security whatsoever, thus rendering them totally vulnerable. Starting next year, SAGE will see all Ugandans aged 80 years and above receive a monthly allowance of 25,000 shillings from the government to meet their basic needs. Project spokesperson at the Gender Ministry, Simon Omoding, says they expect over 360,000 beneficiaries to start getting the monthly stipend when SAGE rolls out nationwide next year in March. The rollout will add 200,000 beneficiaries on top of the 167,000 current beneficiaries. This includes the younger ones, aged 66 to 79 years, who are already on SAGE in the pilot districts. 142 billion shillings is required this financial year for the program. Of this, the government provided 60 billion shillings. 50 billion shillings is a contribution from development partners. The Ministry of Finance has to find the shortfall of 29 billion shillings. Between 2010 and 2015, partners committed 50 million euros. The government committed 149 billion under Phase 2 from 2015 to 2020. NIRA is helping the Ministry of Public Service to identify the beneficiaries. The project will cover all the 136 districts of Uganda. This story was compiled by Nora Mutesi with support from the Democratic Governance Facility.
A piece of history died on Sunday morning with the passing away of Frederick Douglass Mwanja Mukisa, also known as Fred Mukisa. The former State Minister of Fisheries died at the age of 70. Jared Tenywa compiled the story.
Asuman Basalirwa confirmed to New Vision TV, "I understand Mukisa died after battling cancer for a long time." Mukisa was falsely announced dead on social media about 5 months ago. Mukisa fought illegal fishing and restored sustainable fishing on Uganda's lakes. He was also an expert in rural economy. In 1998, he was appointed the Minister of State for Fisheries, serving in that capacity until 2001. He was reappointed in the same docket from June 1, 2006 to May 27, 2011, when he was replaced by Ruth Nankabirwa. He also served as the Member of Parliament representing Bukoli County Central in Bugiri District from 2006 to 2011. During the 2011 national elections, Mukisa lost to Haj Siraji Liavala in the National Resistance Movement primaries. Liavala, in turn, lost to Afulo Gutu of the Forum for Democratic Change in the general elections. Born in Bugiri District on April 4, 1949, Mukisa was to later earn a Bachelor of Arts degree in Economics, specializing in rural economy from Makerere University. He also had a postgraduate diploma in education and a master's in education planning and management from the same institution. Mukisa started as a teacher of economics and accounting at a high school in Kenya from 1976 to 1978. He returned to Uganda and worked as a revenue accountant at Kakira Sugar Works in Jinja from 1979 to 1981. He then went back to Kenya and worked as the head teacher at Ekwanda High School from 1981 to 1985. From 1976 to 1984, he was an examiner for the East African Examinations Council. Following the capture of power by the NRM in 1986, Mukisa returned to Uganda and worked as a political mobilizer for the NRM in the Busoga sub-region from 1986 to 1987. In 1987, he was appointed the Resident District Commissioner for Eastern Region, in which capacity he served until 1991. He was then transferred to the NRM headquarters in Kampala, where he served as the Deputy Director of the NRM Secretariat from 1994 to 1998. He also served as a member of the Uganda Land Commission from 2003 to 2006. The story is compiled by Gerald Tenywa.
Away from that, elderly persons have demanded government to create for them a special seat in parliament like other special groups. They say that they are of sound mind and land. We have a report.
This was revealed during the launch of St. Francis Boikwe District Grandmothers Advocacy Champions in Njero Municipality. Reverend Sam Mulindwa, chairperson of Boikwe District Older Persons, said they have overqualified candidates who can fully represent them in Parliament. The Reverend said, "We are retired but not tired. We've even overqualified candidates who are even ready to go to Parliament. The youths, people with disabilities and women are all represented in Parliament, but why not ask the older persons?" The chairperson of Old Persons of St. Francis Healthcare Services Boikwe, Prosi Mulondo, said that most of their problems are not addressed because they do not have a representative in Parliament. She said if older persons can have positions at local council up to district level, why not Parliament? She also called for need to set up a special desk in health facilities for old persons such that they can get specialized care. According to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics 2012, the current population of older persons is estimated at 1.6 million, 5% of the population, and is expected to increase to 5.5 million by 2050. Badru Kabuye, the aspiring Member of Parliament, backed Old Persons' proposal to have a representative in Parliament, adding, "There are many. We're also heading to the same age, so if we don't fight for where we are heading, then that won't be good for us," he said. The program officer, Grandmother Project at St. Francis, Constance Kisaka, said the facility takes care of 500 grandmothers. She said they're advocating for social assistance grants for empowerment to roll out in all parts of the country, since it's an avenue where old persons can benefit to start up income-generating projects. Government opted for 80 years and above as individuals eligible for the elderly grants under social assistance grants for empowerment. The Senior Citizens Grant, which was initially 23,000, was increased to 24,000 and eventually 25,000 and has reached over 123,000 beneficiaries. The platform for Grandmothers Champions aims at increasing awareness on their roles in advocating for the rights of older persons. 90-year-old Alice Naliazi from Boikwe asked government to allocate a land for them during market days so that they can sell their products. She said they have been trained in making liquid soap, Vaseline, mushroom and vegetable farming, but they lack market to sell their products. This story was compiled by Violet Nabatanzi.
Thank you, Violet, for that report. And now we go in for a short commercial break, but we do return with more stories. Please do stay with us. Welcome back. Moving on, the police in Kamuli district have trapped 12 suspects, including a special force commander soldier, who have been robbing and killing travelers and mobile money agents along highways across the Busoga region. Tom Gwebayanga was in Kamuli and compiled a report.
One of the suspects, Juma Alex Nyende Musasizi, confessed having shot engineer Daniel Ngudo along the Namwendwa Kamuli Road, who they shot after he gave them 20,000 instead of the millions they were demanding for. Led by Kamuli District Police Commander Ahmed Madiri and intelligence officers from the police headquarters, the police made the breakthrough during the Christmas festivities before parading the suspects to the media Saturday. We have so far arrested 12 core suspects, the gang that has terrorized Busoga region for some time, Madiri said, adding that their base has been in Bugembe town near Jinja town. Among the suspects is Ivan Wamono, 35, a Special Forces Command deserter, also owner of the 2 AK-47 rifles they have been using in the raids. Others are Samuel Mpangala, Mohammed Sharif, George Mangala, John Magala, the witch doctor who has been dispensing herbs to suspects to avert mischief. Simon Peter Anyu, the technician who has been in charge of disabling smartphones, laptops, among other communication devices to avert and evade arrest, was also nabbed. Stephen Mayanja and Alex Juma Nyende Musasizi, who boasted to be an expert shooter, was also arrested. According to Madiri, the police recovered 2 locally fabricated guns, army uniforms, iron bars, handcuffs, saws, hammers and sword-shaped knives, among others, from the suspects' homes. Musasizi confessed to having pulled the trigger before he gunned down engineer Daniel Ngudo, who he shot at along Namwendwa Kamuli Road in December. Musasizi confessed that they robbed an Indian of 24 million near Namutumba town, besides waylaying singer Geoffrey Lutaya, who was on his way back from a music show, and robbed him of 12 million shillings. He demeaned this. How can a full engineer only have 20,000 in his wallet? Musasizi asked the police before adding he then took off, making an alarm to alert residents before I shot him. Wamono testified that they have for some time had successful missions along the Iganga, Jinja, Kampala, Bujiri, Busia, Iganga, Kaliro, and Iganga Mbale highways, the raids that earned them millions. On Saturday, the police took the suspects to the scene to reconstruct how they ended the innocent engineer's life before they were transferred to Kampala Police Headquarters for further interrogation on Sunday. Madidi said the suspects will face murder, unlawful possession of firearms, and robbery charges. 4 of the 12 suspects were netted over the armed robberies in Busoga region. This story was compiled by Tom Gwebayanga for New Vision TV.
And now let's go in for business with Lynn Kumche.
In business tonight, a Kenyan verification mission to Uganda has found no evidence that the surge in milk from the country is coming from a third-party nation, even with lack of clarity after Kampala failed to give all the documents the delegation requested. Trade Principal Secretary Chris Kiptu says the delegation found production in Uganda has significantly gone up in recent years following intensive investment in the dairy sector. However, Dr. Kiptu said Uganda could not provide data that the Kenyan delegation wanted, though the PS did not reveal the information. Dr. Kiptu said there was not enough evidence of cows, but at the same time, there was no lead showing transshipment of milk powder from other countries. He said 9 creameries have opened in Uganda, processing 950,000 liters of milk every day, using half of the installed capacity. The PS said Uganda is supplying Kenya with 16% of the total demand. To save farmers from the influx of the cheap commodity, the government has proposed a 16% duty on all milk imports. Data presented to Parliament recently showed milk coming from the East African community, mostly from Uganda, hit 110.7 million litres between January and September from 3 million litres in 2016. The committee ordered the ministry to stop the imports as it was hurting local farmers, with a litre of milk on average selling at 19 shillings to processors from a high of 37 shillings in January. The move to go to Kampala was occasioned by a surge in volumes of imports, with complaints from farmers farmers and processors who have argued that the country has no capacity to export such huge quantities to Kenya. A gauge of the financial sector's contribution to economic activity rose in October from a 17-month low the previous month as agricultural loans and mortgages increased further, according to figures from the Bank of Uganda. The outstanding stock of commercial bank loans to the private sector rose 10.8% from a year ago to 14.6 trillion shillings at the end of October, faster than the 8.8% growth recorded the previous month. The indicator improved the result of stronger year-on-year growth in lending to agriculture and the biggest jump in mortgages since February 2015. Loans to the agriculture sector rose 22.9%, up from 17.5% in September, propelled by an increase in processing loans. Mortgages, part of the building, mortgage, construction and real estate sector, increased by 16.1% to 1.3 trillion shillings, driven by growth in commercial mortgages. Overall, commercial bank credit to the building, mortgage, construction and real estate sector rose 12.6% year-on-year in October, up from 12.3% the previous month. Private sector credit extended by all depository institutions, excluding the central bank, rose by 11.7% year-on-year in October to 15.4 trillion shillings after a 10.6% growth, the slowest since November 2018 in the previous month. After rising to a 40-month high in May, growth in commercial bank lending to the private sectors tapered off in the second half of this year. This trend mirrors the general level of economic activity, which has slowed down this year, according to the Bank of Uganda. The lower growth in private sector credit in the quarter of October 2019 may partly be reflective of the moderating economic activity and an increase in non-performing loans in September 2019 relative to June 2019.
As we count hours to the end of the year 2019, here is the list of the top stories that happened between the months of May and July, highlighting what were the biggest stories to hear the headlines. Take a look.
In May, Dr. Margaret Mary Musoke Bukenya, the wife of the former Vice President, Professor Gilbert Bukenya, disclosed that she lives in fear of contracting HIV because of her husband's reckless extramarital affairs. The senior nutritional expert claimed that Professor Bukenya left her emotionally drained, ridiculed, and constantly seeking spiritual intervention. Bukenya agreed to grant her a divorce, but was unwilling to let her share in any of their estate. Still, in May, a senior state attorney, Samantha Mwesige, accused the Deputy Solicitor General, Christopher Gashirabake, of sexually harassing her. A more sinister matter surfaced in the health sector that month, as some unnamed government officials at Mulago Hospital were being investigated over the sale of human organs. This was amid rumors that were growing that human trafficking was not just over labor and sex exploitation, but also for organ harvesting. In June, Patrick Agaba, who is also known as Pato, who had been extradited from South Africa as a suspect in the murder of Susan Magara, was charged at the Makindye Chief Magistrates Court in Kampala with the kidnap of another woman, Joan Alupo Kora, with intent to procure a ransom from her relatives in exchange for her safety. Earlier on, kidnappers had made a mockery of security by holding Susan Magara for 21 days as they kept calling her parents and threatening them whenever they had contact with the president, an indication that they had either advanced surveillance or a collaborator in the family. They mutilated Susan and sent her fingers to her own family. They also collected a ransom of $250,000 and then killed her. June also came with the shocking revelation of plans to build a power dam in Machishon Falls National Park, Uganda's #1 tourist destination. Tour operators, hotel owners and the public pleaded with the government not to approve an application for license by a South African energy firm to advance with the project. July brought the nasty fight that was to last 2 months between the privatization state minister Evelyn Anite and the Deputy Attorney General Mwesigwa Rukutana over Uganda Telecom Limited. The fight dragged on, gaining Rukutana strong allies including Justice Minister Kahinda Utafire and Treasury Secretary Keith Mohakanizi during ecumenical prayers at Boma Grounds in Koboko District. A desperate Anite sought divine intervention in her fight against what she called mafia attempts to block efforts to resuscitate the limping Uganda Telecom.
For me, I'll die with my mouth open. I'll die while shouting, the mafias are coming, until they take me down. And indeed, they are coming, and I've told you, they are tapping my phones. They have even already gone and said they know, they follow me very closely. They're tapping my phone. These days I make a phone call, I hear their voices. Those mafias, I hear, they are talking. I even abuse them.
Finally, at the end of the year, the president backed Anite over her stand to fire the administrator of the troubled UTL. July also saw High Court Judge Flavia Senoga sentencing city car dealer Muhammad Sebufu to a total of 90 years imprisonment for the murder of businesswoman Betty Donna Katusabe, whom he tortured to death over a 9 million shilling car debt. It remained unclear why Sebufu did not seek to repossess the vehicle, opting instead to kill his customer audaciously right next to the Central Police Station. In the same month, the public was shocked to learn that the Kampala Capital City Authority's Physical Planning Director, Moses Atwine, landed the lucrative position without having the requisite academic qualifications. Another July shock was the death of Reverend Brother Emmanuel Norbert Mugarura, the Superior General of Brothers of St. Charles Luanga. He was apparently murdered by his dependent Robert Asimwe in the accused hostel near Chambogo University on 3rd of July. Asimwe told the police that he killed Mugarura because the brother was sexually harassing him. July also brought the bizarre affair at the police headquarters where the Inspector General of Police, Okotho Chola, directed the Director of Logistics and Engineering, Godfrey Bangirana, to vacate office immediately as his contract had expired. Bangirana, a senior police officer, continued to defy the Inspector General, and the year approached the end when he had still refused to hand over office. August brought the shocking kidnap and murder of social worker Maria Nagiri Nyagateni and her driver Ronald Kitayimbwa, who were kidnapped at Lungu Jabosega in Kampala, and their dead bodies were dumped at Nachitutulu village in Mukono district. Although the kidnap and movements of the kidnappers with their victims was captured on CCTV camera, police officers refused to respond to pleas by Nagirinya's father. Later, when the matter became publicized, the president ordered the arrest of officers who refused to respond. September came with the Entebbe Expressway murder of Merina Tumukunde Kamukazi, the wife of businessman Mark Rugenza, who was shot dead together with her friend Joshua Rushejere Ntereiho at Nabingirwa Bridge in Kajansi Town Council. Police held 4 suspects in custody, including 3 police officers, all attached to the Police Counter-Terrorism Directorate. In the next episode of Looking Back at a Busy 2019, we shall be looking at what made the headlines in the months of September, October, November, and December.
All right, that report wraps up tonight's bulletin. I am Derek Asaba from the entire New Vision TV News team, and it is a good night, and I leave you with the fact file.